let's just get started with taking a step back and looking at what exactly value is in the context of value proposition. So I just took this definition from the internet, but basically, here's a definition of value. There's many different value can mean different things in different contexts, right? As with most words, but this is the closest one to how it is applied to the concept of value proposition. But the regard that something is held to deserve the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And the key word that I want to focus on here is the word worth. So your value proposition is communicating what you have to offer, what you're worth, what your product is worth, or your company is worth, or your worth to your customer when they buy from you, right? So I want to kind of use a metaphor here, an analogy, but consider a $100 bill, right? And a $100 bill has a value that fluctuates, right? You can buy a certain amount of goods with $100. You can buy a certain amount of foreign currency with $100, and that value moves up and down a little bit. But at the end of the day, you know you can buy X amount with $100, and that's what it's worth, right? What is that currency worth? But if we take a step back and let's just say we're an alien coming from outer space to Earth, and we don't know what a $100 bill is, right? So physically, if you look at it, it's a piece of paper with some ink on it, right? Functionally, it really can't be used for a whole lot. It could be folded up or whatever. I mean, you can't do a whole lot with it, but it actually has an intangible value that you can exchange it, right? So it has a worth. But the reason why I kind of bring that up is, think about your product. Let's say you sell some piece of technology and it's actually a physical box, right? That box is the same thing as the dollar bill. I mean, functionally, you can't maybe do a whole lot with the box, but it's what that box or that dollar bill allows someone to do. And that's the worth. That's what it's worth, and that's the value. So communicating your value proposition or figuring out what your value proposition is figuring out what can you buy with that $100, what can you do with that box, what can you do with that piece of software, what can you do with that service, what does your customer, what are they able to do when they purchase from you? So depending on what you sell, you're going to fall into one of two scenarios. Most likely, I can't really think of a third, but you're either going to sell something that the prospect does not have any idea what you sell, right? You sell something very unique. An example could be my own company, SalesScripter. We sell a piece of software that there's really nothing else like it out there, right? So when someone comes across our website or they're in a conversation with us or whatever, they don't know what we sell, right? So you'll know real quickly which of these two scenarios you're in. So let me just get to the second scenario. The second scenario is you sell something that the prospect knows what it is, and most likely you deal with a challenge that they think they don't need it. So let me give you some examples of this. And a recruiting firm, a recruiting service, right? Someone will know what a recruiter does typically. They recruit individuals, right? But someone might currently not use a recruiter and think I can do this on my own. I don't need that. A CPA firm, buying office supplies, some real commodity type of products, but just really so you should know what you fall into. But now what I want to point out is that depending on what category you're in, you might use your value and communicate value and your value proposition for slightly different purposes. They're pretty similar, but they're slightly different. Because if you fall into category one, when you really focus on communicating your value, this will help to educate someone on what you do, on what your product does, and why they might need it. Meaning, if you're the alien looking at the $100 bill, this would be explaining to someone this it can be exchanged for other goods and services. So, or if your technology is a black box, this is communicating to someone what the black box does. So the reason why that's important is that if you don't really focus on communicating value and you just talk about the box, then you're going to end up in situations where someone doesn't really understand what you do, or if you focus more on communicating value, it will be easier for you to educate someone. So instead of talking about all the features and the speeds and feeds, saying what the thing will help someone to do. The other category is that communicating the value can help with getting around the objection that someone's not interested. Let me give you an example here, and this is kind of closer to the $100 bill. But let's say that someone wants to sign you up for like a credit card that gets miles when you make purchases, right? And let's say hypothetically you never travel anywhere, you never get on a plane, so you don't need miles. So you know what the card is, you know what miles are, you know how miles are used. So this is not this is in the second category. But when someone communicates to you that the miles can also be used for gift cards at Amazon, which you can buy anything with or be exchanged for cash back, then you realize, oh, then you become interested, right? So what happens there is then you were educated on the value, the worth, right? That's the worth. What that those miles can be exchanged for. You assumed you knew it, and when it was communicated to you more clearly and completely, all the different things you can use the miles for, you then became interested. So that's an example of using the value, communicating the worth, to build interest and maybe get around a not interested objection. So, but you still might end up communicating the complete worth and value, and you still might end up with someone who doesn't they're still not interested. And in that case, if you've communicated clearly, you're ending up in a situation where that's a genuine prospect. That's a prospect that's genuinely not qualified and not a fit. So you can run into situations where a prospect might say, "I'm not interested," and they're saying "I'm not interested" because of their incomplete understanding. And if you don't communicate completely, either by communicating your value or asking the right questions or having a good sales pitch, you may go away and they might successfully get rid of you with the objection of "I'm not interested" because you didn't communicate completely and correctly and effectively. But if you communicate your value, you're a step closer to resolving the "I'm not interesteds" that you can, and you still might end up at that dead end, but if you reach that, you can have more confidence that you did what you could to resolve that. Anyways, so if we can just get you talking about your value instead of talking about your product, we will achieve a huge step forward. But we can get a little bit more sophisticated and actually break down the value you offer into 3 different levels or 3 different categories. So at the lowest level, there's a type of value that I call technical value. And by the way, using these different categories will come in handy when you start to try to explore and find the value that you offer. So technical value is at the lowest level, and this is really like where things start to work better, right? So this is where your product might help someone to improve a process, might improve a system, improve their employees, improve things like from a functional standpoint. It doesn't have to be. When I say technical, don't get pigeonholed to think that we're talking about technology. You could have something that has no technology. You could sell something that is zero technical, zero technology, but you could still improve something from a technical perspective in terms of a process. Anyways, So some examples of this might be automating manual processes. So something where people are doing things, you make them more automated. You make something perform better. You decrease the amount of time it takes to complete something. You make something more reliable. Now, if you help someone to realize some technical benefits, and by the way, the word benefits and value can be used interchangeably. So, but if you help someone to realize some technical benefits, those will often lead to business improvements, and that's the next level up, which are improvements in revenue, improvements in cost, improve how a business delivers their services. So, for example, if you help something to be more automated, you might help to decrease labor costs, right? So one benefit leads to another. In fact, most benefits lead to another benefit. You can often keep drilling into a benefit, and it doesn't have to be where one technical benefit leads to a business benefit. A technical benefit could lead to another technical benefit, and you could keep drilling into it. But if we make something require less people, then that's going to decrease our labor costs. You could also automate something, and that might improve revenue, because if you automate something, let's say that you can produce more. Let's say you're building cars. If you automate something, you can produce more cars, you can sell more cars, then you could have more revenue. So some examples are improving revenue, increasing market share, improving your close rate, decreasing costs, any type of costs, improve the delivery of services. So your customers are maybe a business owner and they deliver some sort of service, right? They could maybe literally deliver packages, and you're helping them to deliver packages faster. But don't get caught up on the word delivery. Your customer can bake cakes, right? And you help them to bake better tasting cakes or more cakes, or the cakes look better. That's the delivery of their service. Now, just like with the other benefit, technical benefit, when you deliver business benefits, those could also lead to other business benefits. But the next level up would be personal benefits, personal value. So these are the benefits that actually impact an individual. So the individual could be the person that you're closing the deal with. It could be the person that you're selling to. It could be the owner of the company. But they can often realize some benefits when they purchase from you. For example, if you're selling to a business owner and you help them to increase revenue, well, they're going to make more money personally, their personal income. Their income and the revenue for the company are technically two different things. So their personal income would be a personal benefit. And even if they're not the business owner, let's say they're the VP of operations, and they have a bonus at the end of the year, and what you sell them helps them to hit their bonus more consistently, well, that's a benefit. Workload is a big one. And you're selling into the B2B, if you're selling at the management level, these people are working a lot. What if you could sell them something? What if your product helps them to do their job in less hours, which means their work-life balance is better? So the main thing to kind of grasp here is that there's different types of benefits, and the personal benefits are really at that individual level. By the way, these from top to bottom are kind of the way that I usually talk about these to a prospect, often in the sales process, meaning when I have just a couple minutes with someone and it's very early, I might focus more on technical benefits. Once I'm able to get an appointment and establish a conversation, I might get more into business details. And then when I'm really able to establish the relationship and maybe build a business case and whatnot, then you maybe can get into more personal stuff. But that could go either way, but that's just one way to kind of look at that.